Hi, Ozzy here. Recently I posted a video on what I see as the futility of using the primacy of existence argument as a counter-apologetic to presuppositionalism. And since then I've received a lot of comments and private messages with various proposals for how one might defend reason using reason. And others ask me what one might say, or specifically what I might say, in response to the presuppositionalist who challenges us to defend our use of reason. So that's what this video is about. But before I launch into that, I'd like to clear up a misconception, a kind of confusion that some people seem to have about what I said in my last video. A lot of people seem to think that I was arguing against the primacy of existence itself. I didn't. Nothing I said in that video was a challenge to the primacy of existence. I didn't even bother putting forward the argument for the primacy of existence. I just sort of stated it baldly as existence exists. What that video was about was how using the argument is ineffectual as a counter-apologetic to presuppositionalism, because the reason the presuppositionalist apologist is asking you about how you know things is to challenge you to defend your reliance on reason, period. And using an argument, any argument, including an argument for the alleged self-evidence and undeniability of the primacy of existence, is itself a use of reasoning that would need to be defended. The presuppositionalists don't deny the legitimacy of reason, and they don't even need to deny the primacy of existence, although some of them have gotten confused and think that they do, or should. They can grant that. They can grant the primacy of existence, and I said that in the last video. What they're challenging is how you establish that it's true. That's what's at issue. When you try to show that it's undeniable, that act of reasoning, that is what is at issue. Your reliance on reason, not what you can or can't prove using your reasoning. If you think the primacy of existence is undeniable, well, that's up to you. But when you try to demonstrate that it's true, and why you think it's self-evident, and therefore a suitable axiom for your Randian objectivism or whatever other beliefs you might have, that bit of reasoning that you do in defense of the primacy of existence is what you're being challenged to defend as a reliable procedure, along with defending the assumption that your cognitive machinery is properly functioning and reliable. Okay, back to what I really want to talk about here. The problem with the various proposals and suggestions which were put forward to me is that all these attempts, however well motivated and however tightly reasoned they were, and some of them were very well argued, is that every one of them utilizes reasoning in the very act of defending the reliability of your reasoning. Well, this is manifestly a circular argument. Think about this. If you assumed your brain wasn't functioning properly, if you thought your memory was compromised in the very act of inferring a conclusion from premises, so that you had no reason to think that you were remembering your own premises correctly in an argument, or if you didn't think logical inference rules yield valid results, well, then you'd have no reason to trust your conclusions, would you? You wouldn't even bother using your cognitive capacities and relying upon inferential procedures such as deductive logic, unless you assume they are reliable means of arriving at true conclusions. So, at the end of any such attempt to defend the use and reliability of reason, you're exactly where you started as far as the presuppositionalist is concerned. Because you assumed, in the very act of making the argument, the very thing you were asked to defend and prove to be the case, namely, that your cognitive capacities and the inferential procedures you relied upon to get to your conclusion are reliable. There's no way out of this problem. So, what should one say in response? The presuppositionalist is simply requiring the impossible. He or she is demanding that you defend rationality, but will only accept a rational argument, when they know, as we all do, that reasoning means you must never argue in a circle. They are insisting you use your reason to justify your reason, knowing that this would be circular and hence irrational. What a preposterous request. Well, you can't have your reason and eat it too. So that's what needs to be pointed out here, that one is being asked to do the impossible. If you don't call them on this, and instead you set out on a fool's errand of using your cognitive capacities and inferential procedures, such as logic, to show that your cognitive capacities and inferential procedures are reliable, well, it's not going to go well. One is simply being challenged here to do the impossible, and one should never waste one's time trying to do the impossible. Reason is the intellectual ladder we use to reach for or arrive at other conclusions. We use the ladder of reason to get things, to reach conclusions. We don't use a ladder to reach the very ladder we're standing upon. And similarly, we don't and shouldn't try to use reason to reach the conclusion that reason is reliable. The assumption that reason is reliable, that's the ladder upon which we stand when we reach for other conclusions. You don't climb a ladder to reach the ladder you're already standing on. And you don't use reason to justify reasoning. So, instead of trying to use reason to defend reason, one should instead point out that the challenge betrays a confusion on the part of the challenger. Tell them, I don't know how to defend my use of reason in a non-circular fashion. I just do, in fact, always assume my cognitive capacities are properly functioning and generally reliable, and that the inferential procedures I follow are similarly reliable. If I didn't assume those things, I wouldn't bother using them in the first place. So no, I can't defend my use of reasoning, using my reasoning, without going in a circle. And then ask them to show you how they do it. They need to put up or shut up. And when the presuppositionalist starts with their presuppositional argument and start describing the attributes of their God and how rational he is and how logic is part of his divine nature and he created a rational world and that we're made in his image with an innate capacity for logic and we're designed with reliable cognitive capacities, or that he just magicked knowledge into their heads. When they invoke their God as the guarantor of the reliability of their cognitive capacities and inferential procedures or magically zapped knowledge, when they do that, just point out politely and without rudely interrupting that they have, in the very act of explaining all of this to you, used and relied upon their own cognitive capacities and inferential procedures in the very act of demonstrating their conclusion. And thus they've argued in a circle. The moment they set out using any reasoning, rely upon their memory, present premises, posit or presuppose anything, they're engaged in reasoning. They will be, in that moment, assuming the very reliability they're supposed to demonstrate in their conclusion, and so will have failed to satisfy their own challenge, which they put before you. Don't fall for the naive intuition that we all have, that there must exist some way of defending reason that doesn't itself assume the reliability of reason. There is no such argument that isn't itself circular. The presuppositionalist can't do it either. No one can do it. We're all in the same epistemological boat. Okay. I hope that helps, and thank you for watching.